How long can a foreigner legally stay in the Philippines? The real number depends on 9 different visas. And the funny thing is, foreigners only know 2. So in today's video, I'll be breaking down all 9 different visa applications that you can apply based off of your situation. Hi, my name is Trinidad. I'm 24 years old and I've been living in Cebu City for the past 4 years. I originally came here on a tourist visa and then later transitioned to a student visa. If you want more content like this, subscribe to the channel. I post 1 to 2 videos per week showing you my personal insights, what I do here living in Cebu City as a 24-year-old, show you guys areas to live in, the cost of living, and everything else that contributes to having a pleasant experience living in Cebu City. But before we get into the 9 visas, I would like to disclose this. All the information that I'm about to share with you is directly from Bureau of Immigration's website. And as of this recording, it is the most up-to-date information. Before you apply to any of the applications that I'm about to share in this video, I would highly suggest that you visit Bureau of Immigration's website to make sure that whatever I said is up-to-date and accurate in terms of how much it's going to cost you per visa and the requirements to apply for that visa. I will leave the Bureau of Immigration's official website linked in the description for you guys to check out. Okay, now let's get into the video. The first and most common visa that everyone applies for is the 9A visa, also known as a tourist visa. There's actually a misconception that foreigners have up to 60 days visa free, but the newest update is only 29 days. So do know that before you plan your entire trip around the 60 days visa free. The next thing you have to also know is that within 72 hours of your arrival in the Philippines, you have to register on eTravel. It's basically an online application stating the reason and purpose of your visit to the Philippines. And in the event that you actually want to stay here longer than 29 days, that is when you would start applying for the visa tourist extension. Wherever you're located, whether it's Cebu or Manila or the other major city hubs here in the Philippines, you have to go to your Bureau of Immigration office to start the application process. And for your first extension, it extends an additional 29 days. In terms of what to bring, I'll just put screenshots, but the basic essentials is your passport, a photo of yourself, the entry stamp that you came to the Philippines, and the application form that is from Bureau of Immigration. And you have to bring cash. Most of these government offices don't really accept card or credit card. They can, but it's just advised to bring cash instead. But what if you want to extend one more time? Well, that is where you would get your alien card, also known as the ACRI card. Again, I'll be showing you guys the prices on how much this would cost and everything else for all of the different applications that you would have to apply for. Basically, what the ACRI card is, your biometric government ID for legal residents in the Philippines. It's valid for 1 year. With a registered ACRI card, it allows you to open up local bank accounts and getting a Philippines driver's license. So this government ID is very important, and if you don't have it when it's time for your extension, then you are in a lot of trouble. However, the maximum amounts that you can legally stay in the Philippines is 36 months, which is 3 years. After that, you would have to redo the entire application process by leaving the country, re-entering, and reapplying for a tourist visa and doing the same process. This is the most common way most foreigners come in and out of the Philippines before they go to the other visas that we'll be talking about later in this video. But in the event that you don't leave the country after your visa has either expired or you're already at your 36-month mark, for each preceding month you would have to pay an additional 500 pesos plus another 500 for the motion for reconsideration and then the legal fee. So in total that would cost you 1,010 pesos. If you stay here with an expired visa for more than 12 months, you would be considered blacklisted from the Philippines, meaning you can never re-enter to this country. So do know your legal rights, do know the limitations that you have as a foreigner before you commit to any of these visas. Since I'm living here in Cebu City, there's 2 main locations that you can go to for Bureau of Immigration. The one that I personally suggest going to, and the one that is least filled with people, Galleria Mall, or I don't know if it's Galleria Mall, but I'll just leave a screenshot of the location that I normally go to because there's way less people and I'm in and out within 30 minutes. Hour was the longest that I've stayed at this location. The one in Mandani Bay though, that one takes forever, bro. Like everyone goes there. Here are some pointers that I suggest you follow. The first one is you should apply for your visa extension 1 to 2 weeks prior to the end of your stay. So for an example, if you're here for the first 29 days visa free and you want to start the process of getting the extension tourist visa, then I would apply within the 15th or 16th day of being here in the Philippines. The reason why I mention this is because anything that has to be government affiliated takes a long time. We're not in the States anymore. Some of the things that we have to do and the processes that they have here are not that efficient. It's just like that. You have to accept it, and if you don't, then you can simply leave the country and then go somewhere else where you have a faster visa process. I have met plenty of foreigners that love to complain about the visa processing and how long it takes to acquire their visas or any other government affiliated documents. Which brings me to my next point. If you're really considering living here in Cebu City, I have a local foreigners guide on how to live inside of Cebu City. It comprises all the information that I have acquired in the past 4 years in terms of cost of living, what areas to live in, what things that you can do within the city, what apps to use, and everything else to make your life here in Cebu a lot easier, more efficient, and more pleasant. If you're interested, I have that linked in the description. You guys can check it out. The next visa that we'll be talking about is a student visa, also known as the 9F visa. This is the one that I'm personally on, and as I converted it from a tourist visa to a student visa, I now have to do the reverse before I leave the Philippines. It's a similar process, but the only difference is that I have to physically go to Manila to pay the exit fee, and then after that I have maybe 1 to 2 weeks to gather all my things before I have to physically leave the country. And if I choose to come back, then I have to reapply as a tourist visa. The student visa is for foreign nationals aged 18 and above who are trying to pursue a course in studying higher than high school level at a university, seminary, or college recognized by the Bureau of Immigration. If your school is not recognized, you cannot get this visa. Now, the difference between Bureau of Immigration and CHED is the quality of education, and these universities that are CHED affiliated are normally accredited in Western countries such as the States. In my particular situation, University of San Carlos is a CHED affiliated school, so not only are you able to apply there as a student visa, but that school will be recognized in the United States. If you want more in-depth information on University of San Carlos, I will just link my series right here where I break down how much it cost me all 4 years, my thoughts on the school, and then a tourist campus of the one that I was located at. So if you guys are interested, then you guys can watch that video right now. This process typically took me, if I remember correctly, 2 months. Yeah, I was able to enroll in the school and get all my classes done, but my visa was not yet approved at the time. So I had to wait like maybe 1 to 2 months before it got officially approved. And then after that, I just had to maintain it year after year with the annual reporting and also the extension for every preceding year that I continue studying at the University of San Carlos. For the full 4 years that I was here, I didn't have to physically go to Bureau of Immigration every single time that I had to do my visa extension on a tourist visa. I only had to go there maybe once or twice, and it was for the annual reporting or anything else that the liaison at my school was not able to do on my behalf. So in my situation, I was lucky enough to have a liaison at my school to do all the heavy lifting for me. All I had to really do is fill out some paperwork, pay the international fee and the visa extension, and that's basically it. But for me to get on the visa, I had to do a little bit more manual labor, such as police clearance. I had to get my biometrics done, stool and urine sampling. I know I'm forgetting some things, I just don't remember all of them. It was such a long time ago. But once you do all of the requirements that the school is having you do, and make sure that you actually submit your visa for extension on time. If you don't, I believe every month that passes by without you doing the visa extension will be 1,000 pesos. I could be completely wrong. I forgot because I've never submitted my passport late. I also had to change my original ACR card from a tourist visa to a student visa, so that's why it took me like 2 months to get everything done. But I had no complications whatsoever. The only thing that was really annoying me is the inconsistency of where the locations of the Bureau of Immigration was. Back then, 4 years ago, I think I went to 3 different locations because they didn't have a physical department store stationed somewhere. They were always moving and it was a hassle. Sometimes I'd have to go to this area to go to Bureau of Immigration, and then I had to go to a separate one for my ACR card. It was just a mess. Now they have a little bit more structure. They're stationed in 2 different locations that you guys can choose from. I'll put them here again for you guys to reference. This visa will last you for an entire year. The downside is that immigration will have your visa for 4 to 6 months. So that doesn't give you a lot of time to leisure travel if you want to do that, or if you want to go visit family during the vacation months, or at least that's been my experience with University of San Carlos. It could be different from other ones. I'm just speaking from experience. And another perk with this visa is that it has multiple entries, so you can leave the country and come back with no issues. You don't have to reapply for your visa every single time that you re-enter the Philippines. The next visa is a 13A visa, aka getting married to a Filipino citizen. There's actually two stages to this visa. The first one is a probationary phase, and then the permanent residency phase. The person who actually qualifies for this one is obviously getting married legally in the Philippines to a Filipino. It's pretty simple. In terms of the whole process, I would just either show screenshots or a screen recording of all the different documents that is required of you to apply for this visa. But normally for the first stage of the visa, you have to stay within the Philippines for 1 entire year. After that year, you must apply for the amendment to PRV. I will also put what that stands for, by marriage, to convert to a permanent status. During the probationary period, pay attention to absence requirements, such as extended absences. This is actually an immigration act within the law system in the Philippines, not just from Bureau of Immigration. And then after that first year, then you would have the processing phase, which would range from 3 to 6 months minimum. So if you're planning on leaving after your first full year of living in the Philippines under this visa, do not try to leave right after, because you have an additional 3 to 6 months at a minimum. It could be longer. It really depends on the processing system. Again, like I've been telling you guys, the government offices here, they do things a lot slower than what we are used to back in the States. You have to be patient, and the more you try to push them to do things, the more resistant they become. You pushing them is not really helping your situation. All you can do is just be patient and then consistently follow up with them. And after your 1-year probation period is complete, you are then able to apply for the PRV, which stands for Permanent Resident Visa by Marriage. And then that's the next one that we'll be talking about. So this is the extent of the 13A marriage visa. This is also known as the Permanent Resident Visa Amendment. So once this is granted by the Philippine government, you don't have to do any further visa extensions or renewal fees like you would in the tourist visa. However, there is an annual report by the Bureau of Immigration that you have to complete within the first quarter of every year. So January to February, March, I think, is the latest extension for this visa renewal process. And you have to keep the receipt from the prior year, because they would use that as evidence that you have been here in the preceding year. If I remember correctly, I think it's 300 pesos, but if I'm wrong, I'll just put a screenshot of the actual price. The annual report also helps cover all registered aliens, or foreigners in this case, and the ACR carders, regardless of any visa type, because it's for all registered aliens or foreigners in this situation. For the PRV by marriage, it can be filed either in the Bureau of Immigration office in Manila or any of the other authorized immigration offices in the Philippines. If you are based in Cebu like I am, I have 2 different locations. You guys will see both of them right now, and they'll also be linked in the description. So this one was actually new to me and I didn't know, but there's another marriage visa. It is called the TRV, which stands for Temporary Resident Visa. According to Bureau of Immigration, these are for Indians. Whatever is accredited in terms of legalized marriage in India and in the Philippines is not considered accepted, which is under the Memorandum Order number ADD 01038. The initial conversion is 1 year, the extension is for 5 years, and then the fee structure is significantly higher, which is 37,060 pesos for the conversion, and then the extension is 29,260 pesos. So this is another critical thing if you are an Indian national. Per Immigration Administrative Order number SBM 0214006, your passport is required to be surrendered to the Bureau of Immigration for the entire duration of your application and will be returned to you via courier once processed. If at any point during processing your request to pull your passport back out, your application is immediately dismissed and all fees paid are non-refundable. The next visa is the work visa, also known as the 9G Pre-Arranged Employment Visa. Now, the difference between this one and the other visas is that you can't apply for the 9G visa yourself. You have to have your employer do that for you to start the process, because they have to endorse you, in other words, for you to even be considered working here legally. And if the company is not willing to sponsor you, you simply cannot use this visa. So this visa is for foreign nationals proceeding to the Philippines to engage in any lawful lawful occupation, whether for wages, salary, or other forms of compensation, whether commercial or non-commercial. It could be missionaries, social works, rehabilitation organizations can also qualify under this non-commercial category. Another one is for digital nomads and remote workers for foreign clients. To specify, you are currently operating in the gray area on tourist extensions. The 9G does not apply to you unless you are actually employed and receiving compensation from a Philippine employer. For commercial visa validity, it's issued for 1, 2, or 3 years, and it must be extended by the employer to continue up until the 3rd year. Some documents that need to be notarized include the number of foreign and Filipino employees. This is required for commercial track, and also the conversion and extension of your visa. But this is something that you can get from your employer. This is not something that you can fabricate yourself. This one was an interesting one when I was doing my research. So the next one we're talking about is the 9D, which is the Treaty Trader / Treaty Investor Visa. Only nationals of 3 countries qualify for this visa: the United States, Japan, and Germany, based on reciprocal treaties of commence and navigation between those countries and the Philippines. So these are people that are conducting substantial trades, including trades in services or technology, principally between the Philippines and their home country, or they develop and direct the operations of an enterprise in which they have invested or are actively in the process of investing a substantial amount of capital. Here are some key requirements to note before applying. In terms of substantial amount of money, there is no fixed cost. This is evaluated based on the nature of the business and whether the capital is sufficient to ensure the enterprise actually operates. It needs to be verified by a BI accredited immigration lawyer before even applying. And then the majority ownership, the petitioning company in the Philippines must generally be at least 50% by nationals in the treaty country. And then the last requirement is the AEP requirement. So 9D holders working on a trading company are generally required to secure an alien employment permit from the Department of Labor and Employment, DOLE or DOLE, in addition to applying for the 9D visa. This visa is good for 1 entire year and it's subject to renewal provided the conditions of the visa continue to be met. The next visa that we'll be talking about is the SVEG, also known as Special Visa for Employment Generation. If you're trying to build something real here in the Philippines, a restaurant, a remote agency, a product business with local staff, this might be more suited for you than the one that I just previously mentioned, the 9D visa. This is the person who wants to establish or expand a viable, sustainable commercial enterprise here in the Philippines where they hold a management role, meaning authority over hiring, promotion, and things of that nature. Here are the key requirements. The first one is a minimum of 10 employees. They have to be full-time, regular Filipino workers, domestic workers such as nannies, drivers, cooks, household helpers, are all explicitly excluded from the count. The next thing that you must have is the age requirement. You must be at least 30 years old to apply for this visa. The next one is the presence requirements. You must have a cumulative stay in the Philippines for at least 180 days within a calendar year. The next one is regulatory compliance. Your business must be fully compliant with the Labor Code, SSS, PhilHealth, and Pang-ibig. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. The next one is the AEP requirement. If you are classified as an employee of the company rather than a pure owner, the DOLE Alien Employment Permit is mandatory in addition to the SVEG. The last one is a background clearance. You must secure clearance from the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, also known as NICA, and the Bureau of Immigration. This visa is good for 1 entire year. For this visa to be valid, first you need to have a 1-year probationary period. After that, you then apply for amendment to an indefinite stay 30 days before your probationary period expires. This is assuming that you're able to show that the business has been active and has maintained a 10 employee requirement for the preceding 12 months. Other things to keep in mind. So you have the annual report they had to do within the first quarter of the year. And this is a performance-based visa, meaning if you drop below 10 employees, your SVEG privileges can be terminated immediately. The last thing is that the Bureau conducts active oversight to verify the business is not a shell company. Be prepared to show it is a real operating enterprise requiring daily management and full compliance compliance with local labor and social security laws. The last visa that we'll be talking about is the Section 13 quota visa, which is very rare to obtain. This is the broadest route to full permanent residency in the Philippines and the least talked about. This visa is a lifetime residency here in the Philippines. Nationals of countries that are diplomatic relations to the Philippines and grant Filipinos reciprocal immigration privileges. The Philippines allocates a strict statutory limit of 50 visas per nationality per academic year. Once those 50 slots are filled, applicants for the nationality wait until the following January. For you to be eligible for this visa, you must meet everything that I'm about to list. First, your age. You need to be at least 30 years old. Second, must demonstrate a recorded stay in the Philippines for at least 180 days within a calendar year prior to application. The third one is financial capacity. Bank certificate confirming an inward remittance of at least 100,000 USD. And the last one is national interest. The Bureau of Immigration prioritizes applicants with special skills, scientific, educational, or technical knowledge that advances the national interest, or those with significant capital for viable, sustainable investment. The benefits of being granted this visa include permanent and indefinite stay. So there's no annual extensions, no renewal fees. I think this is when you actually get like a Filipino passport. The second is work authorization included. You can work in the Philippines without a separate alien employment permit or AEP. You have multiple entry privileges without visas. And then the annual report required during the first 60 days of each academic year. And that is all I have for you guys. So no matter which visa you choose out of these 9 that we talked about in this video, please follow the guidelines and instructions from the official website of Bureau of Immigration. Whatever I say may change in the future, so please back up any of the information that I have shared with you guys in this video. Please verify everything before you apply. And if your wishes are to stay here long term in Cebu City, I have a locals foreigner guide that I condense all the information that I have learned in the past 4 years inside a guide for you guys to check out and linked in the description. I cover everything from cost of living, what apps to use, what areas to live in, which ones to avoid. If you're a little bit younger and you're still working, then there's co-working areas that I also cover. I will probably do videos of all of these places just to show you guys what it looks like. But everything that I could think of in terms of having a pleasurable experience living here in Cebu City, it's all in that guide. So check that out in the link in the description if you're interested. If you found this video useful, then like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help push my videos out in the algorithm. I post 1 to 2 videos per week about my life here living as a 24-year-old. If you guys are interested in a recent series that I just did about University of San Carlos, then you guys can check out that series right now. If you guys don't like that content, you guys can go to my channel and look at the other types of videos that I have created thus far. So see you guys in either of the videos that I just mentioned.